So I'm curious what my downvotes are going to be in this video, because Thor: Love and Thunder. There's a reason I never gave a Doctor Strange review. I saw Doctor Strange, and I give you, in my opinion, if it's very similar to that of Thor: Love and Thunder. I enjoyed it. Definite room for improvement. And I would say more so in Thor than Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange's problem was the fact that it was called Multiverse of Madness, and we only saw really one multiverse. Maybe, no, two, technically. Three, if you want to count the out-of-universe one where America Chavez comes in. But it seems like Marvel has an issue with their main characters, like the titular, title character, not being the driving force in the movie. And that was big in Doctor Strange because it was mostly America Chavez's movie and Wanda. Both did a good job, and I still enjoy the thing. But I was expecting so much more, and even though there were some good things, I still liked it. I want to stress, I still liked it, but I'm like, there's still room for improvement, and it could have been so much better. And that's been a lot of my issue with Phase 4. So, Black Widow, no, not a fan of that one at all. And, wow, way to just horribly use Taskmaster. Eternals, man, was that boring, and you really should have made that a miniseries. And thanks again for killing one of my favorite actors when I finally get him in an MCU series, and you kill him off. Thanks. And Moon Knight was awesome. I'm just going to say, Moon Knight was actually really good. I would say one of the best Marvel shows from start to finish. Really great from the actor. If there was awards for Disney Plus shows, he would win hands down, the main actor. And now we get to the Thor: Love and Thunder one. And I guess I should quickly go over my opinions of the other Thor movies. I like the first one. Second one, I like Loki and Thor. And I kind of like the Warriors 3 and Lady Sif. Because I always like Thor's little entourage. They're always a little fun to be had. They don't really get that much time to shine, but they're still cool. And of course, Thor and Loki's dynamic is great. Ragnarok, love it a lot. So, before anybody says I don't like Taika Waititi, I do. I really and I probably butchered that name, but I really like Thor Ragnarok. I felt it worked great. It was over the top and bombastic. The comedy was hilarious. It was very colorful, and even though you had some dour moments with Helena, it's still, the majority of it wasn't upbeat, and you just had this more serious character around, but at least it wasn't that too deep. She basically just wanted to take over and reconquer the realms. Stereotypical stuff. Now we get to Thor: Love and Thunder. If you just want a quick thing, I like it. I'd recommend it. I recommend it at a matinee or wait for Disney Plus. And I have to admit the critics are right in some areas. Not all, but some. So right off the bat, Gore the God Butcher. Possibly one of the best villains from Marvel. I will say this about Phase 4. Between, and it seems to be the fathers, but between him and Shang-Chi's dad, really good villains in this series so far. And I guess Moon Knight, honestly, he had a good villain too. And not too deep, but the tension was real, and you had a lot of build-up for it, especially with the whole setup. But I don't want to spoil that one too much. Go watch Moon Knight. But Thor: Love and Thunder, Gore the God Butcher, so good. And it all starts from the opening scene where he's on a planet, he's with his daughter, and it's dry, it's arid, there's no water, and the daughter dies. Spoiler, but it happens. And she dies, and he's so sad and everything, and he's, clearly this broken of a man. He's praying to his God. He's got this medallion, and he's like, please, please, salvation. And he finally finds the God. But Marvel, we work with it. So he finds the God, and the God's a complete jerk. Much like Cal from episode 11, he's a complete jackass jerk. And apparently the gods don't care if their followers die, which I don't understand. I thought your followers might give you powers, but clearly I don't know. So they're like, oh, we'll always find more followers and more believers and whatnot. And Gore basically is betrayed by his God. to the point where he gets this blade called the Necro Blade that can kill a god. Problem, we see later other deities or deified warriors get killed. And it's clear that Thor is a god, but he's a god of thunder from Asgard and everything. Sorry guys, gotta take care of that because it's gonna be flashing. Episode 12 is currently on screen, but I need to take a break. So, it's clear that this weapon can kill gods, but we see them get killed later. So, brings me to this. Why is the Necroblade so powerful compared to that of... Like, the big claim to fame is that it can kill a god. Now, it has other powers, as we'll see, but it can kill a god. Even though, clearly we see other things that can kill a god, and the Asgardians were gods. They died. Lest we forget, Thanos killed Loki and Heimdall. So are Asgardians gods? Like, I like the concept of the Parthenons, and we see all these different types of gods, and they're so cool, and a really cool design. And I am a freaking mythology dude, so I was geeking right the heck out. I saw Quetzalcoatl up there. I saw the great serpent from Egypt. I forget his name, but it's the serpent that devours the sun and kills Ra, and he's got to go through it, but he comes out later. Long story. And there's like Susanna O's there, and I'm like, oh man, this is so cool. But what constitutes a god? Like, and then I'm like, I notice you only have the ancient style mythological gods, and you don't have other gods up there. Like, I didn't see any Christian, Jewish, or Muslim, or no, I don't think I saw Buddhist gods up there. I don't think I saw Shiva, Ganesh, or any of those guys. No, but still, like, it would have to know what would constitute a god. That's all I'm gonna say. But that's more me nitpicking here and avoiding what I really need to talk about. The biggest complaint I have heard, and I looked this up afterwards, but the biggest complaint I heard was that the comedy is not the best when it comes to the timing. And what I mean by that is they put jokes in scenarios that ruin the mood. Now, that's not so much in the beginning with the Guardians of the Galaxy, because they are in it for a little bit. Because they're bombastic, they're over the top. It's an action film. It's like a Led Zeppelin album come to life. They're like having this big old battle and whatnot, and they're having these great moments. And it's funny because they're playing off each other because there's not that big gravitas. It's not the opening with Gore literally having to go through it all. I kind of wish it was like that with the whole serious tone, but Thor's never really been too down or too over serious except for like Infinity War and Endgame. But still, it's really interesting because these really good deep scenes, like, they basically play out a little variation of the Mighty Thor, or Lady Thor, as some called her, when Jane gets the power of Thor. Because the reason why Jane's not around is that her and Thor broke up, basically. They all were doing their own thing, and it happens. Couples break up. I mean, it's... some people got to do one thing, some people go another way, and you always want to be there for each other, and you still clearly care about each other. It's just that you can't devote that time to them, and if you feel left out or that isolated, sometimes it happens. You know, it may not be a happy thing, and it almost never is, but, you know, it's just the way life is. And now Jane's got cancer, and like in the comics, and except they twist it. And I kind of like this twist. I'm not going to say what it is, but comic book fans, if you think you're going to know what happens when she gets the powers, no. Or maybe I'm misremembering the comics wrong, but yeah, no. Like, the scenes when Jane is legitimately concerned about her life and concerned about her well-being are really good. And when Thor and her are together, I can kind of forgive a little bit of the forced comedy they might have. Because as a guy who tries to diffuse very serious situations, especially when it concerns myself and my well-being with others in my family, I use, like jokes and deflection and whatnot, mostly because I don't want to try to put too much stress on them, even though it almost never works, but it's just a coping mechanism. And I can see that happen here, and that's fine. But then other people, and some of the jokes just really don't work. Like when she's in chemo and her friends bringing in like these junk food and these snacks, like it's a show or something, or it takes time. Yeah, as someone who's had family members with cancer and they've gone through a lot of it, and they were pretty high stages. Some managed to make it out, and sadly some weren't. But it's a very serious situation, and there are parts in the movie that are done very well, and they treat it as such, and I want to applaud those. Now, unfortunately, there's a few jokes they throw in there that ruin the mood, but it does get that same point across and that same connection. So, if you took away some of the not well-placed timed jokes, and I'm not counting like the ghosts that just scream at the top of their lungs, because screaming ghosts is funny. I don't find it funny, but I guess somebody does. I'm not talking about that. Let the movie keep its serious tone. But Marvel, for whatever reason, and I noticed it a little bit in Miss Marvel, and I still like Miss Marvel, I'll do a review on that later, but they have this weird habit of they can't just let a mood sit. And it's not just them. I would say even movies in general today really have neglected the quiet time. Quiet time in movies was used to set the ambience and the atmosphere, to set the feeling as it would be. And, you would have music playing in the background sometimes too, but you would just let the scene play and get the feeling of it, get the tension, get the character's emotion. Sometimes you can say a lot without saying a single word. But it seems, especially Marvel, that they gotta do the jokes because it's Marvel's staple. And yeah, I can definitely say it did ruin a few scenes for me. I wouldn't say it ruined, but it lessened. Like, I should have been tearing up at the end. Because the way it's structured and set up, with how everything plays out with everybody, I'm not going to spoil it, but with the way everything ends, I should have felt a lot of emotion. I should have felt a lot of severity with it. The problem is a lot of the jokes and stuff really just dragged it down, and the just comedical situations. Thor busts out a power we've never seen him before, and some could say it's because he has a certain something now. I'd still kind of call bull, but whatever. But still, even with this new power, it doesn't take away the gravity of the situation. It's very, very messed up and very sad. And just a case in point, there's a scene where something horrible happens. Like, this is the stuff of like grim fairy tale horrible endings. This puts the Pied Piper to shame, if you can get a little bit of a subtle nod here. And literally they're in the meeting, everyone's like screaming and whatnot, and he goes, "We can't go after them. Half the guards are dead. Half our guards are always dead." Why would you say that? Half your guards are dead. Those are your people. Those are your neighbors. Why would you say that? Because they needed a joke. Because they couldn't just let the scene and the tension and the drama play out. And some could say it's because of Taika Waititi. Could be, like I said, I did enjoy Thor Ragnarok a lot because of the jokes and comedy, but that's because it wasn't as serious in the overlaying tones. Whenever Gore is around, and Christian Bale, props to you, man. Whenever he's around, you feel it. Even when he's trying to be upbeat and more lighthearted, for a good reason, it's still that creep factor, and you still feel the pain in him. All he wants is basically justice and to get rid of the gods that basically don't care. And yes, he's not wrong. It's very clear that a lot of the gods, especially the big hitters, don't care. So, once again, it goes with the villain where you can understand and those are the villains I love. The ones that you can see yourself becoming, sadly, if you were pushed to that extreme and you felt like there was nothing else. Now, I personally, in my current state of mind, would never do the stuff like he would do with Shang-Chi's dad, but given their power and all this time, could you honestly say if you were robbed of something you loved with every fiber of your being and you had the power to take back, well, basically bring the people who wronged you to justice? It's a little tough. I don't advocate for it, but I can understand it. And it's also mentioned that Gore's weapon is corrupting him and making him more. But they just say corrupting him. They don't really go into too detail about that. You never really see too much of the stuff. They try to tie it into Jane's cancer too, but yeah. But still, this movie is, I would say, once again good. Like I said, if that type of stuff, if the comedy messing with the serious scenes doesn't take you out of it, you'll enjoy the heck out of this. And I don't mean that in a negative way. But if you're like me and that type of stuff does rub you the wrong way, there's still a lot of good in this movie. Still a lot of great scenes. Cinematography is great. Visuals are just astounding. The effects done well. The fight choreography is great. Until something near the end, but I'm not going to spoil that. But then it gets a little weird. But beyond all that, it's still an enjoyable ride and enjoyable movie. I definitely would say go see it. Unfortunately, according to some box office results, it's currently going down. And when I went to go see it, it was basically an empty theater, so you'll have your tickets. But like I said, matinee, easy. If you're okay with jokes and you don't think it's, if it doesn't throw you off that much, go watch it. Wait for Disney Plus if you're really that concerned. But in all honesty, guys, it's not a bad movie. I wouldn't even put it anywhere near the bottom of the other ones. It's still above Thor 2 in my mind, easy. I wouldn't put it in the bottom tier. I mean, I would still put this ahead of stuff like Captain Marvel, Civil War. Oh, right, yeah, I'm not a fan of Civil War, in case anybody hasn't figured that out yet. Would definitely put it ahead of stuff like Iron Man 2. I would even say Iron Man 3 as well. Even if you take it away from the Marvel standard, it's not that. It's still a decent movie. I would say good, but still. Yeah, the problem is, and I understand a lot of people are getting the comic superhero burnout, the Marvel burnout, because you're getting so many one right after another. We got another movie coming out soon. We just got done with Doctor Strange. Then we got Moon Knight. Now we're on to Miss Marvel. Then we got Thor. Now we got She-Hulk coming up. And then we got Black Panther coming up. Or is it? Yeah, I think it's Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Or is it Wakanda Forever, a Black Panther movie? I forget. Actually, given the title, I'm pretty sure it's Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Someone please chew me out in the comment section. I'm a filthy casual now. But the problem is with Marvel, you kind of have to stay on top of things because all the stuff will tie in eventually, and there are some post-credit scenes that set up for events to come, including one that I kind of like because I got to see a certain character again I haven't seen in a while, but it raises many questions, so But anyway, y'all, we've had some fun, but now we must... Unfortunately, I must finish High Guardian Spice. Though this will probably go up before episode 9, so it's going to be a little weird out of order, but I figure you guys could have a little bit of fun and a little bit more upbeat on the more current one versus the usual schlock. But soon we'll be having a lot more fun stuff to talk about, and who knows? Maybe over time my opinion on this movie will probably grow. It has happened with other ones, like I used to not really think that much about Iron Man 3, but now I really like it a lot. Totally not because Tony's dead, but... And don't call that a spoiler, he's been dead for like 3 years now. 2 years. The problem is because they used to come... Now they got so many movies, I'm trying to count backwards here. But yeah, it's been a while. But anyway, y'all. So that was kind of my review of Doctor Strange and the Moon Knight as well, along with Thor Love and Thunder. Like I said, guys, still enjoy them, but I'll just ramble. Because it's bittersweet, coming to an ending. But you guys will have a couple more episodes before that, but still. Anyway, y'all, as always, this is the $1 Critic signing off, and I'll see you all next time. And who knows? Maybe the next Marvel thing will be so great that my opinion of this movie will drop. Or it'll be so bad I'll be, on my full knees and going, I'm sorry, I forgot what a bad movie was like, I'm sorry. There, you guys got one more good laugh at my expense. Later.